That's my secret, cat. I'm always angry.
Alright. I ran out of patience. On the roost!
Hey everyone, Captain, big fan of Spider-Man.
Avengers! Assemble. Hello, Peter.
Hello and welcome back to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is Casey McGeorge. How are you today, Casey?
How's it going, everybody?
It's going good. Going good. What a week it's been. I started to prepare for when Daredevil eventually enters the show. I've started rewatching the old Netflix Daredevil that's now on Disney Plus. So I'm on season 2, halfway through season 2. So yeah, I'm ready. I am ready. And we're not talking about Daredevil today, though. We're going to be talking about She-Hulk episode 6, Just Jen. And this episode was written by Kara Brown and directed by Anu Valia. And it aired September 22nd, 2022 on Disney+. And the synopsis was, Jen is a bridesmaid in a friend's wedding, a stressful event compounded by uniquely She-Hulk issues. What was your initial thoughts on this one, Casey?
I like this one. It was much better than last week's episode. And last week's episode wasn't bad per se. It was probably, just for me, it was the weakest of the episodes. Plus, we've already talked about it enough. There was the guy I didn't like, but you know, it is what it is. The one thing I continuously like is this episode. This show tends to deal with normal people stuff more than any other show. Such as, hey, she gets invited to a wedding to be a bridesmaid. And what, the things that go along with that. Then you add into the fact of various things that happen that only She-Hulk would have to deal with that can compound, what's going on. But just the, even the B plot was kind of, it was fun. But it was definitely something more of a realistic tone to it in some aspects, such as, hey, there's divorce proceedings that are going on and they're getting very contentious.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I really like this episode. It probably won't shock you, but there was a lot of people upset with this episode online because they felt like they were teased Daredevil for this episode and then he didn't show up. All the leaks I've seen, if people don't care about leaks, all the leaks I've seen is that's episode 8. So just put that out of your mind until episode 8.
In all fairness, that he might show up the last 2.5 minutes of the last episode.
Right, right.
I mean,
I like at the beginning too, and she's talking about how this is a standalone wedding episode and how it's inconvenient, like most weddings are, right? Like that. I thought that was very fun, and I still thought it actually had some bearing towards the overall plot, which is, as we'll get into it, but we kind of get a tease at the end here that whoever's in charge of the wrecking crew and trying to get her DNA have now got a new needle that maybe is a little bit more reinforced, or they figured out how to puncture her, and they're going to try again. And that's building off of that. And plus, we got more Titania, which has kind of been the overall arc so far, the overall villain. But I thought this was a lot of fun, and this may not surprise people as well, but I was a huge fan of the B plot, and I actually think the B plot was probably my favorite part of the episode once again, which is probably like 3 weeks in a row. I don't know at this point. But Mr. Immortal, I thought, was a lot of fun. I really thought the actor who played him was a lot of fun. He was also in Book of Boba Fett, by the way. But So he's making the Disney Plus rounds recently. But I thought he was a lot of fun. I thought that whole arc with him constantly, like, I thought it was unique, right? Of he is somebody that can survive. So he's kind of scamming these people when things get a little rough. He's like, you know what? I'm out. And they're not going to get anything from me because they think I'm dead. And I'm not sure how much that works because there's never a body left. So I'm not sure how that is working for some of these cases, but I was able to overlook that and just have fun with it.
I didn't have to overlook it, but like I said, it's also a situation like I talked about before where it's our laws really haven't caught up with superhuman abilities and things.
Right.
Because as he tries to explain at some point in there, but it never goes through, he technically is dead, even if it's for okay, cutting ahead a little bit. When he just gets frustrated with the lawyer and the paralegal kind of talking or kind of yelling at him, and I can see it coming from a mile away where it's like he's gonna jump out that window.
Yeah.
And he does, and he takes a running start. He jumps out the window and crashes, hits a car. Now granted, he gets up and walks away, right? But most people that
he
see
was
that,
legally dead, yeah.
Even if you see him get up and walk away, you're probably thinking, there's no way I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now.
Right.
So, like I said, it's one of those situations where I believe our laws probably just haven't caught up with abilities, and they kind of need to.
What I would also imagine, actually, I'm just thinking about this now, is when he gets hit and he probably leaves some DNA at the scene that they test and realize it's their spouse or whatever, and then it looks like a hit and run or somebody like disposed of the body or something, there's ways around that where like it could be, he got hit by traffic. They're like, oh my God, where did the body go? But we have the DNA here. There's no way he survived that. And, they roll him as dead. And
especially if it's, like I said, if it's something like a bunch of people witness, once again, I mean, people are going to call an accident, cops show up, and then, okay, let's say there's 15 eyewitnesses that say this dude got up and walked away. Now, granted, now in the MCU, during what's going on in their world, that might be more believable. But
right.
Once again, under normal circumstances, like, the police are probably thinking this guy's out of his mind. Like, there's no way somebody got hit by an 18-wheeler and just got up and walked away like nothing happened.
And this is one thing I really liked about the show is just having these random, like, I wouldn't even say C-list villains and heroes. These are Z-list for some of these characters. I think we're getting Frogman in a couple weeks. He was in the trailer. So, like, these are some very obscure characters. We got the random light elf. Like, we're getting a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of filling in some of the world here that I think is a lot of fun because, look, Mr. Immortal was never getting his own series or movie before he was inserted into this, right? Like, so some of these ways, it's like, why hold on to some of these characters if you're not going to use them, right? So be able to use them in some of these new ways, the way that they have, and I think that's been a lot of fun. But let's get to the A plot, and then we'll go back to the B plot. I think here is, she's invited to her wedding. This is her old friend Lulu, who was played by, I'm trying to find her name again here, Patty Harrison, who is in the Netflix sketch comedy show I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, if anybody's seen that. She's got a lot of famous memes and characters based around her, so I've been constantly referencing those on Twitter. But I thought she was a lot of fun in an annoying sense. Like, this is, I'm sure you were annoyed, Casey, by this character. But
you know what really annoyed me, and I never had to deal with it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, she gets what is eventually turns out to be the wedding invite in the mail.
Yeah.
First, she opens the box, and a little explosion, and the damn
Mm-hmm.
glitter goes all over the place. And then she opens up the envelope, and then there's more glitter that goes all over the place. Like, Jen has to be really in control of her emotions because
Oh yeah.
that should have caused her to Hulk out.
I
Two
agree.
years, 8 months, and 6 days from now, she'll still be finding glitter
Yeah.
in her house.
Well, what's funny is there's times where like, well, I don't even know the last time I was around glitter, but there'll be times where my wife will be like, Jordan, you got glitter on your face. And I'm like, I don't even know how that would happen. Right. And she's like jokingly, like, would you go to a strip club? And I'm like, no, like, but it's like, when was the last time I was around glitter? Right. So yes, you'll find it forever. She'll never lose the glitter. She'll need Ant-Man to go there, shrink down, and make sure he gets all the glitter.
As long as she lives in that apartment, there will be,
glitter.
and has that couch and table, there will be glitter somewhere roaming around. She really didn't annoy me per se, but I did enjoy the aspect of Jen going to a wedding, and I was like, "Ooh, this seems fun," and it does kind of seem, like weddings would come at really weird times. Also, uh, unless you're going away for like traveling for the honeymoon, like she said, who the hell has a wedding on a Thursday?
Right. Yeah, that is a rough day to have a wedding. If that was me, if I'm a guest, I'm taking off Thursday and Friday. All right, I'm not. I'm not.
Well,
going back
that's
to
the
work
thing.
Friday.
Like, some people might be willing to lose a day of work, right? Or depending how much vacation, sick time, or PTO, however your company,
Right.
the organization you work for does it, right? You know, uh, and especially, you know, another thing we have to think of is when did she get this wedding invitation in the mail? Because all of this seemed to happen really quick, right? Now, unless she would have got that wedding invitation in the mail before she became She-Hulk, which now I
True.
think
I
about
think it
is
Yeah.
possible, which is why she probably wouldn't have hulked out at the time. But yeah, so like I said, it sometimes it's easy to take a day off, right? Maybe you gotta travel up there Friday because the wedding is on a Saturday. Um, or especially if you're in the bridal party or a groomsman, you might have to go up there for an extra day. But like I said, for Thursday, then if you have to travel for it, so now you either got to leave after work Wednesday night or possibly take Wednesday off of work. It's just weird and awkward. That's just weird.
Yeah, so I was just rewatching that part on mute, and yeah, it seems to just do like a time skip. It looks like without saying it's a time skip. So yeah, she probably got it a while ago, I guess, before She-Hulk. But what I thought was funny is, so this is kind of like Jen is almost approaching this like a reunion. I feel like, right, where she's like, I'm She-Hulk now. I can go and be my confident self. I'm confident with my She-Hulk now. I'm going to show everybody who I am. And she goes there, and immediately Lulu's like, no She-Hulk at the wedding.
Oh, I saw that coming from a mile
Me
away.
too.
Like,
It makes sense too. You don't want to be upstaged.
yeah, you are upstaging the bride on her day. I don't care who you are. Like, no, just no, not like that. Might be the only time I might say I might go against She-Hulk if there was a fight because of Bridezilla. If you're going against them on their wedding day, that's not something I really think you should want to deal with.
Yeah, if I'm on Lulu's side, but Lulu gets very weird with Jen, where she's like ordering her around like a servant, right? She's like having her like put stuff together that nobody else in the wedding party is doing while they're all drinking their champagne or whatever. So kind of sucks for Jen on that end. And then even she's a bad wing woman, right? Like when she's talking to Joshua and she's just like, no, I need you to like do this, and he's gonna go do this now. When they were kind of hitting it off, and she was right before she started hitting it off with that guy. Like Lulu was sad for her not to have a boyfriend, and then kind of ruins the one chance she had with somebody at the wedding for a bit. Now, before we get too much into Titania and all of that, what are your thoughts on Josh or Joshua? Are you skeptical of this guy who seems very into Jen and not She-Hulk, while I'm thinking maybe there's an angle here where he might be part of the bad side, and because she was like humiliated at the court, right, with the person saying like, no, I only like She-Hulk, if they're like, let's attack this from a different angle, let's get a guy who is only in on Jen, and maybe he can get some of that Spin DNA or something without needing her to Hulk out. Like, I wonder if there's a bad angle here with Josh.
Maybe they're trying, if they figure if they try and get her blood or something as Jen instead of as She-Hulk, it'll be easier. I'm not. He seems a little too good to be true, just like the doctor guy. The doctor was just a jerk. That's why he was too good to be true. But this other guy, I'm not feeling. I'm also not feeling. Like you said, Lulu, just something was weird about that too. Maybe that was the Titania effect, where all of a sudden she had her ironing and stuff, and helping to pick.
Washing clothes or whatever it was, like the groomsmen shirts. Yeah, they were You're right, ironing because they were playing Mario Kart or something and got wrinkled.
Yeah,
you know how to play games right if you're wrinkling your shirt.
Granted, this is just me, but I probably would have walked up and left at that point.
Oh yeah, I think I would have too. Look, this is somebody that I just got married a couple years ago. I was playing my nephew's 3DS right before I went down the aisle, all right, because he needed help catching a Pokemon. But anyway, didn't get wrinkled. And I didn't put on my stuff until I absolutely had to, because I was worried about wrinkling it or getting stuff on it. So the fact that they were already that far in advance and then we're still playing games and then needed, I would have been just rocking my plain white tee playing the game until it was time to get ready to go and then start getting ready.
Add into the fact that if that didn't cause her to go at the, I would definitely made a big scene, because right at the wedding where they bring out her groomsman that she's walking down the aisle with, the dog there,
yeah,
that right there would have been enough for me to be like, you know what, I'm gone.
The dog that is super old, right?
It looked like a special needs dog or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I just, at that point, I would have been like, yep, you know what, that's it. I'm out.
I find it funny too that she wouldn't have known that ahead of time. Of course it's for the comedy of the show, because again, when I was setting up my wedding, everybody knew who they were walking with well in advance.
Was there no rehearsal dinner?
It didn't look like a rehearsal here, right?
That Jen didn't have to go to, and especially you think someone who is kind of as ritzy as Lulu is, who is dated both the Twilight actors at some point, right? There would have been at least a rehearsal, if not a rehearsal dinner. The first time all of that got together wouldn't have been right at the day of the wedding.
Right, right.
She seems like the kind that would have been a huge bridezilla and would have wanted everything to be picture perfect.
Definitely. So then Titania appears. She is apparently dating one of Lulu's groomsmen, and she's trying to egg Jen on a bit. She wants I feel like she one, she just kind of wants to fight Jen again as She-Hulk, but I think also she's trying to hope that Jen will Hulk out and make things a lot worse. And good on Jen for being able to resist this for hours before she finally caves and starts wrecking Titania. But it only happens when Jen is drunk and gets sucker punched by Titania and goes flying like, I don't know, 50, 60 yards back.
The one thing I'll say is Jen actually did get over on Lulu. She did get her back because there's no way they're getting their deposit back for that place.
Mm-mm.
And
not with the Hulk stomp.
Yes, and they probably owed a lot more. So between the bride and or the groom, someone's got to pay for that.
Yeah, Titania is going to pay for it, I guess. I don't know.
Probably not.
End up being Jen at paying for that.
No, probably not. It's going to be the bride or groom. Like,
but if I'm Lulu, I make Jen do that. I told you not to She-Hulk out here, so you're paying this deposit.
Good luck with that. What's she gonna? She's not gonna stand up to actual She-Hulk at that point. And then
that's true. Yeah, she hugs her.
Not only that, but then what? She's gonna try and actually take her to court.
I don't know. I think you can approach it nicely before you have to take it legally. Like I'd be like, Jen, I feel like you should pay for this.
And Jen could say, I feel like you treated me like a piece of crap all weekend.
That's true.
No,
be a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, that's thousands of dollars of damage. Like that's not a paltry sum of money there. So.
So Titania attacks her. She hulks out, and pretty much beats Titania to a pulp. Almost gets her teeth all ruined, which were, I guess, veneers or something. She said, right? They were like fake teeth, I guess, or. And she storms off. Titania, not the last we'll see of her. I bet.
Actually, I think it might be.
Really?
We might see her one. I think it. So it was good to get Jamila Jamil as Titania, but as sporadically as we've seen her, and we only have 3 more episodes left.
Yeah, 3.
We may see her once or twice, but I think that was just a nice decoy of who the big bad for the season was. Another thing I thought of. She did a fantastic job playing Titania. And especially with knowing that she's British, and she did a fantastic job with her accent.
Yeah, Valley girl.
I just wasn't feeling that accent though. The more I've been able to see her and see her on screen, I don't know. I kind of wish I knew more about Titania, but I don't know.
She's not.
As we've gotten more of her, I just really haven't been feeling her, so I don't know.
She is not. This version of Titania is not like the usual version of Titania. She's not usually social media influencer, Valley girl type person. So this is a very unique take on her, which some people are digging and some people are not. I'm fine with the portrayal and everything, but I wish, if we do see her again, I hope she has something else to do. And what I mean by that is I feel like we could end it here for her, but I think maybe an escalation of her trying to get payback. Really what it's been so far is just kind of social media influencer and legal aspects of it. We got this one fight really this time, but I'm wondering, could she team up with the bad guys, which is the intelligentsia? Could she team up with them or something? I don't know.
Does she have any actual powers? And what are her actual powers of Titania?
Yeah, so what she is, and we kind of see this in the first episode when she breaks into the courtroom She has immense strength, and she's been able to go up against like the Thing and be able to easily match him. That's really all it is. It's really just like super strength at this point is really the only thing she's got. Which is why she was able to kind of take some She-Hulk blows for a bit. Durability and stamina as well is what it has here. So
I hear Titania might not be accurate, but the first thing that comes in my head is like she turns the metal like.
Yeah,
I get
I
other
think they meant
things
it
in
more
my
like
head.
I think they meant it more like a Titan. Like a big, strong Titan, but they made it Titania. That's the only thing I can get out of it. I think the first Titania, that's what it's named after. Strong as a Titan. She was also like a female wrestler at one point in comics. Like that's how she started, I guess, before she got powers or after she got powers, she became a wrestler. Okay, so anything else to talk about with the A plot? The scene at the end again about the scientists that are spying on Jen with Josh, and they got the new needle. There's a few people I think it could be. I think it could be the guy that called her a specimen earlier on their blind date or Tinder date, whatever. And I also think it could be the Hulk villain, the leader. He's been announced to be in Captain America New World Order. He was originally in Incredible Hulk. They kind of set him up there and never paid it off, so they're bringing him back. I think that they can bring him back for a little cameo here of him being the leader of no pun intended for that. Him being the leader of the Wrecking Crew and this whole thing, and not sure if she'll ever go up against him in this, but kind of like the man behind the curtain type of thing. Those are my two suspects. I'm leaning towards it being somebody that we've seen in the show more than the leader, because for some people, they're going to watch that and be like, okay, I saw Incredible Hulk in 2008. Like, who guy? When
if they even saw Incredible Hulk.
Right, that's true. Or it can loop back around to, oh, that's the guy she went on a date with, and I think that could hit more, because we've seen him a couple times now. We saw him in the law offices. And at first, when they showed Titania being with the groomsman, I thought it was him as the groomsman at first until I rewound it, and I was like, oh, no. But I was like, wow, this guy's going to be everywhere. But we've seen him a couple times. I feel like that's the way I'm leaning. Yeah, we only got 3 episodes left about that, so I'm assuming we'll get some sort of payoff on that soon.
Yeah, it's got to come at some point. But, I enjoyed the wedding. I enjoyed the fact that she finally had enough. I like the fact that because she was... so let me take a step back. I know they talked about how their body takes alcohol differently, so it takes a lot more for them to get drunk. But I was wondering at some point, is that only in Hulk form, or is that in their human form? And apparently it's only in Hulk form.
Yeah.
Because she was still... She had some performance anxiety, shall we say.
Yeah.
Trying to turn into Hulk.
Yeah, how do I do it again? No, yeah, they tried to make it clear earlier, I think in episode 2 or 3, about the drinking thing. When she gets fired? No, was it when she gets fired?
Yeah.
She was like drinking, and then she shrinks back to human form, and she's like smashed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think... and then when she's drunk puking and then immediately turns into Hulk, when she turns into She-Hulk, it's, no longer drunk. So, seems to be only Hulk form that happens for her.
Also, quick note, I like the attention to detail they had of she came to the wedding as She-Hulk, and she, obviously the dress she had on was made and meant for She-Hulk. And then when she gets confronted, has to turn back into Jen. She now has to pick up and hold a bunch of her dress because the dress is much, much bigger and doesn't really fit the same way, obviously.
Oh, yeah, we got a reference to her super suit, too, at the beginning, right? Where
Nikki was asking about
Nikki
it.
was asking, I want to see it. And she's like, I'm never going to use it. And if you look back at trailers, it does show what it looks like. I just watched some more trailers back again. So I'm assuming that'll be part of it is eventually she comes to terms with she has to use it for some sort of reason. And she, puts it on for some reason and starts. I wonder what can catapult her to kind of finally be like, you know what, I do have to do some superhero stuff. Like that's what I really wonder is like, if Titania couldn't do it, it's got to be with the Wrecking Crew and these whoever their leader is that makes her feel like I got to like step up and put this on and start
doing more.
Yeah.
Also, the fact I'm also thinking we might see Bruce again, considering they kind of popped him back in there because she gave him a phone call real quick while she was at the wedding, talking about she hasn't heard from him in a while. She left him a voicemail. Now I don't know if Bruce is able to get his voicemail wherever he's at. Probably.
Well, if he could answer the phone call in the spaceship last time, I'm assuming he.
Well, no, remember because then the phone went dead.
Yeah, did it go dead or did he hang up?
I dare to think it probably went dead, considering like interstellar travel and you have to move at the speed of light in order to get to some of these places,
right?
So I think at some point he probably went well outside of his signal range. So it's probably like one of those situations where you get on a plane, put your phone in airplane mode, right? Okay, cool. Then as soon as you get off, as soon as you land, everybody turns their phone back on and everything pops back up. I mean, I can't imagine there's a ton of people who are calling Bruce Banner or who would have Bruce Banner's number that are not intimately connected with him in some way. So, I mean, I can only imagine being maybe a handful of people, right? But, yeah, I like the fact that they kind of just touched on that, kind of reminded us that, hey, remember Hulk left for a while.
Right.
So I'm thinking we may see him towards the end of the series again. That might set something else up for him down the road. I don't know.
Okay, so we had for the B plot, basically, it is all about Mallory and Nikki working together for the first time on a divorce case of the superhuman called Mr. Immortal. For people that don't know who that is, he is a West Coast. His first appearance was West Coast Avengers, Volume 2, number 46 in July 1989, created by John Byrne. And he is known as a Great Lakes Avenger. So he's been part of the Great Lake Avenger teams. He is...
Wait a
his
minute.
power set...
We're setting Avengers up by regions now? Is there
they have West Coast Avengers.
Is there like a Deep South Avengers? Is there a Florida? No. And then is there subgroups in that? Now do we have like the Florida Panhandle Avengers? And Texas is special, so they have to have their own Avengers in Texas. Yeah. Right?
The Ranger Avengers. I think there's only the three. The West Coast Avengers, and Great Lakes Avengers. Great Lake Avengers are not like a huge team. Like they're not very famous.
They have the name Great Lakes Avengers. That tells you what level of superherodom they're on.
Here's their founding members: Flatman, Doorman, Big Bertha, Dinosaur, and Leatherboy. That's their founding members. So it gives you all you need to know really about the Great Lake Avengers.
Those are the kinds of dudes who might go to the guy in LA or Great Lakes. They probably have a guy in Chicago who makes their superhuman suits. So those sound like what I imagine, and this is going to sound horrible. Remember the old Saturday Night Live skits with Da Bears? The guys who look like Mike Ditka with the big fuzzy mustaches and things. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I picture these Great Lakes Avengers all look like.
Yeah, I mean, what does Flat Man do? I think he's like a Plastic Man type thing, where yeah, elasticity, just like Mr. Fantastic. Um, that's what Flat Man. What does Doorman do?
Does he hold the door open for you as you walk through?
Yeah,
Like,
well, if they're from the Midwest, right? It's all about manners. His powers is teleporting people through solid walls, with his own body serving as a portal, which is why he's Doorman. He is the
yeah,
doorway to other people, to other places.
something tells me these when these guys were made, whoever made them, there was probably a lot of drugs going on at that time. And
John Byrne made all of these in 1989, by the way.
look, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but if I had to guess, John might have had some outside stimulus that helped him come up with these things. Because the hell, man, like we could have just no. Or you know what this reminds me of? What was that movie with Ben Stiller?
Oh yeah, the Mystery Men or whatever.
Yeah, this kind of makes me this like those have that's the kind of like Mystery Men thing. Like if all of a sudden you showed me a draw, if you shared your screen and you showed me Dane Cook as the Waffler or something, I would say okay, I bet yeah, he probably fits in there.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Immortal is one thing I want to mention with him too is he is a mutant with the power of immortality, which allows his body to regenerate from any injury, including ones that would kill ordinary humans. Although injuries that are sufficiently traumatic appear to kill him at least initially, his regenerative power causes him to return to life in anywhere from 10 minutes to seconds. So that's again how he could probably be found as and then come back 10 minutes, okay, so one thing I want to point out that is that he's a mutant. So we're getting some more mutants recently in here now that they have the rights to him. I'm assuming they maybe I don't know if they had the rights to Mr. Immortal before the Fox deal, but
okay, let's be realistic. Did anybody really want the rights to Mr. Immortal before this?
I'm sure somebody wanted the rights to.
Did they? Because we have not heard. When was the last time you heard of Mr. Immortal?
I've heard of him. I wasn't too familiar with him, but
when was the last time you saw a movie or a comic or something with Mr. Immortal in it before this?
Well, I mean, he's never in a movie, to my knowledge, right?
Okay.
But
like,
here's the thing: Sony is making all of these Spider spinoffs with Madam Web and stuff that people don't know as well. So, yep. So that was his live action debut. Was She-Hulk.
And this, to me,
he was being developed for a new Warriors TV series that was going to be on ABC or Freeform. It was going to be on Freeform in 2018. So they were working on. See, they wanted to get Mr. Immortal in on something.
So, to me, this is also another case of our laws not catching up because, as we see, he has had many marriages. I think there were 8, something like 7 or 8.
Yeah. That were alive. He's been around a while. Yeah.
There's a total of like 7 or 8 ex-wives and an ex-husband in there, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably, the ex-husband was probably more recent, but ex-wives and things in there. Okay. Our laws haven't caught up because, in theory, most of those probably should not be valid. But because he is superhuman and he's a mutant, and it's one of those weird things where he technically is dead, right? They said he dies for up to 10 minutes and then comes back. Does that mean he can go get married again?
Well, he's also doing this all under different names, right? So I guess that causes an issue too.
But it's one of those, like I said, the laws just haven't caught up with anything because, as Mallory points out, these women probably should be referring him for criminal charges.
Yeah.
Then, once again, I'm starting to go down the weird rabbit hole. There's the aspect of depending how he died, if there was insurance payouts
Oh, true,
to
true.
to these wives and his ex-husband. Uh, they've probably already got all this money, but now can it be forced to be paid back because there's fraud involved? Are these insurance companies going to want to press charges against him and or the spouses? He has a child. Does his child inherit any of his mutations?
Mm-hmm.
Does his child have any of their own mutations? I don't know. So what did you think of the Nikki and Mallory pairing, though?
I thought it was a fun pair. We kind of got to see a different side of Mallory last week, where she was befriending Jen a bit. This time she kind of is like, hey, Nikki, you're not so bad, because Nikki's the one that has to kind of get everyone to agree. Because once they were like, okay, you'll get the payout, then they're like, well, I was married to him for way longer than this person, right? And they start throwing fits about the time.
And these are legitimate questions about
Yeah.
how long each one was married, what each one should be entitled to, the fact that one has a child, one has this kid, and it was called a mistake, and then that caused some infighting, right?
Yeah.
Also, we did, but we didn't necessarily see a different side of Mallory. I think it's more of when she is at work, she is one way. She's a very particular kind of person. She's very serious, very straightforward. I like the fact that she keeps the same tone with Nikki for the most part. Like when she is at work, this is her case, she's in charge.
Right.
She doesn't necessarily tell her to shut up, but at one point, like you can tell her like, nope, you don't talk here. Like this is between me and him. And she's like, I kind of sympathize with that because, when I'm at work, I'm pretty much more of a serious person. Like, okay, here to work, do what I got to do. And I can joke around a little bit, and there's some people I talk to, but for the most part, I just keep to myself. So I kind of like that about Mallory, that she's just very like when she's behind that desk, when she is at work, she has one way, or not necessarily one way, but she knows what her goal and her objective is, and that's what she focuses on.
And two, I think Nikki was like originally like kind of sitting by the window. She was further away, and Mallory's the one kind of was like, come over here, like sit next to Mr. Immortal, right? Like she kind of waved her over.
Yeah, because she's got to take notes. Do it. I don't actually know what a paralegal does, so I don't want to, I don't want to act like I do, or, say, but I'm guessing she might have to take notes for research and things and various other things, right? But she probably would need to get closer, but it might just be a different situation. Some people, in some shows you've seen, some paralegals have sat behind clients, some sitting next to their attorney. So, every attorney kind of has their own setup of where and how they want it. But then when Nikki starts asking questions or something, that's when Mallory's like, no.
Yeah.
You don't talk.
Well, so this is what I found interesting about the Mr. Immortal. So they found this out from a video displaying his powers leaked on a website called Intelligentsia. And then they later spend time on that website after the case is done. And wanted to find out stuff about She-Hulk, or what they're saying about She-Hulk on there. And this is where they find tons of death threats and, I don't know, mean memes about She-Hulk, about like calling her dumb or whatever. And Mallory says you can't tell this to Jen, right? Like you can't let Jen know about this. And then we cut to Nikki driving home. And I knew this was going to be the punchline here, where she's telling her all this, and then it's the voicemail, right? Like she's not actually talking to her on the phone. She's like, yeah, so call me back when you get this. And that's when we kind of cut to the scientist spying on her. But how do you think Jen is going to take this information? Does Nikki know about the wrecking crew trying to beat her up? That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in finding out. If she recognizes, this might all be linked at a certain point.
I think Nikki probably does. I mean, her and Nikki are obviously very close. So she's known she's known about it, many other things. So she told her dad, obviously, but yeah, I can see her telling Nikki about the wrecking crew, and she had to Hulk out and beat up a bunch of people and things. Okay, cool, got it. I can see both sides to this. I can see Mallory saying, "Hey, this is not something you really need to tell her about because it's going to be something that's on her mind constantly, right?" Mallory's not as close with Jen. They're just work colleagues, and she's coming at it from a different perspective. And she like, I can see her point of view. Like, yeah, this is, if you sit here and tell her about this, like, it can cause more issues than it helps with. But this being Nikki, I can 100% see her situation of like, no, I have to tell her about this. She's my best friend, and yeah, like there's no way I'm keeping this to myself. I also do like the fact that it took Nikki to solve the whole Mr.
Immortal.
Mr. Great Lakes West Coast superhuman there. His various cases, including stuff like 20 seconds of eye contact with an apology,
Sincere apology, yes.
and the various things that had to happen. And this is a good case of, I have no doubt that Mallory is fantastic at what she does, right? And coming from legal aspects and various things, she definitely seems like the kind of attorney I would want to hire. But Nikki has maybe more of a personal touch with some aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to look and either talk to them or figure out the kind of person that each of them were, and figure out what it is that would make each one happy and what it is that they would want out of this to make them all happy, that's not something that everyone can do. I think I told you about, talked about this before when we were doing the break room. A lot of times when I was in the Army, we had commanders. Some commanders were great tacticians, where they could move things around on the battlefield and get you from point A to point B and come up with game plans depending on where the enemy was. That was unbelievable. But they were not good people. Mm-hmm. So if you came to them with a problem, or they just couldn't interact with people very well. And then you had some that were the opposite. They were great with people and understanding, and knew how to talk to each individual soldier that they had and what would make them tick and how to motivate everybody. But when you put them on the battlefield, they weren't the best tactically, right?
It's the Glenn Dina situation.
And then every now and then you get someone who can kind of blend both of them together. This right here is kind of that situation of Mallory seems like the great legal mind and legal tactics person, mm-hmm. but Nikki is more connected into the world in some ways and is able to deal with other people, to deal with people a lot better. And the fact I didn't know that Mallory is married and has children.
Yeah, that was interesting, huh?
I hate to say it, that kind of surprised me. Not that she is not an attractive woman and wouldn't be married or have kids, but unfortunately, as we know, some women have to make difficult choices when it comes to their careers. Mm-hmm. As far as when they want to have kids, or if they want to have kids, or if they want to hold off until later. Because unfortunately, that will set them back from their peers, and it causes them to miss out on various things. Mallory seems like the very driven and kind of professional that, to me, she seemed like the driven kind of person who would unfortunately make that choice, that she would put those things off until she got to mm-hmm. a certain point in her career. Didn't see that coming. Glad to see it though. Like, I just thought it was very interesting. Even Nikki was kind of surprised that she was married and had kids.
Yeah.
And she was married like 12 years, she said, or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I found interesting is that not so shocked that she's married. I guess shocked that like, and I think that's why Nikki was shocked is you hadn't shared any of that with us, right? We've been working together for a couple months now. You haven't been sharing that with us. And, for some people that, again, it's like you said, I'm at work. I don't need to share that with you. I'm doing my job.
Yeah, I can definitely see Mallory being the kind of person who doesn't share her personal life or anything outside of work with anybody, or if she does this with very few people. And in all fairness, Jen and Nikki don't seem like her kind of people, so I could definitely foresee her not sharing much with them. I don't even, especially now that we know a little bit more about Pug, I could definitely see her not sharing much with Pug either.
Yeah. Wait until you find out that's who she's married to. I'm just kidding.
That would be a little surprising, but not necessarily so. I could see it.
Yeah, I wonder. That made some people suspicious about her because she's, just now sharing this with them. So some people are a little suspicious of her. I'm not too suspicious of Mallory. I think she's just somebody that is keeps to themselves. Is how I would probably phrase that. Is professional, doesn't like to share stuff
she's
about
just
her personal life.
A career-driven person.
Yeah,
that's probably like first and foremost to her. I would be interested to see what she does and enjoys for fun. Like if this were a normal sitcom, it would be interesting to see if they had an episode where they kind of focused on her and showed her life outside of the law firm. I think would be interesting, even if it was just like a one-time episode thing where maybe only small things are brought up later, and then maybe you find out after watching that episode that maybe they kind of left some breadcrumbs here or there throughout the show that most people probably just wouldn't have picked up on. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in seeing some more about Mallory.
Yeah, and I think to kind of start wrapping it up a bit here, what I really enjoy about this show is the fact that it feels the most like a normal TV show out of all of these, and I like the sitcom feel of it. Like I said, people were complaining about, oh, we get a standalone episode. This is what I miss about network TV. We're at a point now where streaming shows, even if they're comedies, get about 6 to 10 episodes a season, and a lot of times it don't have like just a standalone fun episode. I can see myself revisiting this episode just to have fun seeing She-Hulk at a wedding. But for some people it's always, what's the next thing? Oh, what's the next thing? Oh, I want to know the next part of the story. But what I miss about like network TV is sometimes just having these what people call filler. I think it's not necessarily filler because we get some stuff at the end and we also get some character-driven stuff that helps. But I don't know. I think it's just fun. Like, it's just fun to kind of have a TV show do this.
I'd love a She-Hulk bottle episode.
Yeah, just like, where would you even set the bottle episode? Her apartment or like the GL
Maybe they're stuck in maybe something happens. They're stuck in the law office.
Yeah.
Or like they're on a retreat, like they take a law office retreat, and they end up with somehow they're stuck out in the woods or something. I don't know. Being the fact that She-Hulk's involved, it kind of makes things difficult to have a bottle episode because it's not like they can just get trapped inside a building.
Yeah, she'll just punch her way out.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like in general, like I think it would be. You could do a lot with this show and with these characters, where, let's say you keep a 10 episode thing, right? You could have one or two of these episodes a season where it's just they don't necessarily have an overarching. There's not an overarching thing that, or like we talked about, maybe they do like a 3-3-3 where there's like a beginning, middle, end of a season that loosely ties together with each other. you've echoed the same thing I said. The show has been fun from the beginning, and that's something I haven't seen in a lot of these shows so far. And it's not that the shows haven't been good, but they've all had their own different tone. And, WandaVision talked about dealing with grief. And it was Wanda's journey going from Wanda Maximoff to the Scarlet Witch. And Loki was just weird and fun. And I still love Alligator Loki. And the fact that the alligator they used is some dude's real emotional support alligator named Wally. He took him to an amusement park in Philly, I think, or a water park up there not that long ago.
Oh,
Interesting
really?
Story. Yeah, like he sleeps with this alligator. But anyway, but just these little, like, each show has had its own separate tone, and for this one to just kind of be fun and loose, and a kind of like an 80s or 90s type sitcom, and we even had her cousin. See, this episode probably could have been used maybe before the other ones, where her cousin was brought back up. So now we know her cousin
As a
again.
DJ.
Not a good DJ, but he's a DJ. But it's a wedding DJ, so as long as everyone has fun, right?
The Incredited Hulk or whatever, right? Incredited Hulk or something.
Right? So, like, they could have used this before he decided to bust in her house to get her to sign a bunch of stuff from Titania, so we wouldn't have forgot. And just silly things like seeing Jen kind of drunk, dancing the night away, having fun, not having to worry about things. It was good to see.
All right, yeah. So, any Easter eggs or anything that you found that you want to share?
There was a code in this one that leads to some more free comics. It was on the car that Mr. Immortal,
yeah.
Falls on. I do like I said, Lulu calling out the fact that she dated both of the stars, or two of the male leads from the Twilight series, which ruined vampires and werewolves. But that's beside the point. One of the things I saw on the BuzzFeed thing, Nikki's notes. Apparently, like when she's taking notes and writes down intelligentsia, apparently there was a jazz funeral in New Orleans for Mr. Immortal.
Really?
Yeah. It says she needs to get pictures of that, so I would definitely like to see that. There wasn't really much from the BuzzFeed article I saw for Easter eggs other than that, but still pretty good, though.
All right, yeah. If you want to reach out to us with anything you found or any sort of feedback, you can reach us on Twitter at TO Infinity Saga. You can reach us on Facebook.com/ if I can locate it, Infinity Saga Beyond, or you can email us marvelplusrecaps@gmail.com. Hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and we'll catch you next time for episode 7, as we are 2/3 of the way through She-Hulk, and look forward to breaking down the last third.